Everybody, and welcome to the Ultimate Job Search and Career Podcast. I am Bill, the company's expert, and today we're going to talk about the best answer to the job interview question, tell me something unique about yourself. Now, many people have been tripped up by this question when they go to a job interview and they haven't prepared for it and they're put on the spot, and the interviewer is basically asking them, what's unique about you? Now, this throws people in a variety of ways, and we're going to get into it today. We're going to talk about a good answer to this question. We're also going to talk about how your answer is going to change depending on the type of job you're going for. If you're going for an entry-level job, a sort of lower-level job, you would sort of give a certain answer. And then if you're going for a more sophisticated job, you have more responsibilities and things like this, your answer is probably going to change as the requirements of the recruiter sort of go up. Okay, so let's start at the beginning here. One of the reasons this question kind of throws a lot of candidates, if they haven't thought about it before, is because let me phrase it this way: is anybody really unique? I mean, is there something you could say about yourself that no other person on the planet can say about themselves in terms of something that would qualify them for a job? That's actually kind of a tough question when you think about it. But in order to begin to understand this question and then to answer it, we have to look beyond literally what they've just asked us, okay? We have to rephrase this question. We're going to go and look beyond the literal question and sort of at a high level, re-examine what we're doing in a job interview. What's our purpose? Well, the purpose is to speak to the requirements of the job. Okay, that is your purpose. If you're a candidate and you're going to a job interview, your sole mission when you go to a job interview is to communicate to the interviewer the things that they are wanting to hear. And by that, I mean, they're looking for certain specific requirements, and your job is to speak to those requirements and convince them that you meet those requirements. Okay. Anything else that you may communicate to the interviewer is kind of a waste of time. It's actually worse than useless because it serves to dilute any sort of good communication you've done. If you want them to understand 3 points, that you have 3 essential things, if you then mention a further 15 points that are irrelevant, that kind of waters down the three points that you have made. Okay. So that's your sole purpose. Okay. If you go to the job interview and you start talking about, your childhood experiences and your food dislikes and your political opinions and other things that might not be relevant to the purpose you're there, it does you no good and it wastes your time and the interviewer's time. So that's our purpose. Now, having said that, let's come back to this question. Okay. They asked you, tell me something unique about yourself. Okay, now I've heard many people recommend sort of several canned answers to this question. They may say things like, to answer this question, you would say, well, I'm a good communicator, or I'm organized, or I want to learn, or you state a previous role you've had or a previous occupation, or a skill you have. I know how to program in BASIC, Now, I've heard people recommend those, and we're going to first explore those, okay? Now, the first obvious point about these is that they asked you about something unique to you, right? Now, if you say, I'm a good communicator, or I'm organized, or I want to learn, are those really unique? No, they're not at all. In fact, they're quite generic. If someone says, tell me something unique, what's unique about you? And you say, well, I'm organized. It's like, well, that's not unique. So if you come back to literally what they asked you, you kind of failed that question, because if you think you're the only organized person on the planet, that's a bad answer. If you think you're a good communicator, the only good communicator on the planet, and that's unique, I don't think people are going to come with you on that. Okay, so these answers, I know why they're recommending that you say these answers, okay? And that's because usually these are some of the unstated requirements of any candidate that they want to offer a job to. Okay, the candidate that they select presumably is going to be reasonably organized. They're going to be a reasonably good communicator. They're going to want to learn to a reasonable degree. And presumably they have skills and they've been in previous roles. So yeah, like these are technically meeting some of the requirements, I suppose. Now, the reason I say I suppose is because saying you're a good communicator to most people doesn't really hold much water. Being a good communicator is something you demonstrate. Same with being organized, things like this. These are things that you demonstrate. If you showed up for the interview late, that's a demonstration. That's a proof solid that you are not organized. So these are things that actions speak louder than words. You can demonstrate these when you get to the job interview, and all soft skills are like that. Usually they're things that you demonstrate rather than you say, I have them. Okay. So are these bad answers? No. If you are going for an entry-level job, okay, if you are a younger type person, you're just entering the workforce, you're getting your first job or your first career type job, the requirements are for these types of questions that you say something, you give a response, where, first of all, giving a coherent response is half the battle, okay? If this is like your first job interview you ever done in your life and somebody asks you a question and you give a good, coherent response where you don't have to think about it for 45 seconds before you say anything, that's a triumph in itself. And it's a bonus if then what you say is something that they're kind of looking for anyway. Okay, so these answers, they fit that. Okay, so these would be acceptable answers if you're going for an entry-level type job. However, if you are going for a more sophisticated type job, this is not entry-level, and this is not the first job you're getting ever. Maybe it's a position where you have subordinates, you are managing people, or you are being trusted with projects or money or assets or, whatever, right? Responsibilities. Chances are these answers are not going to cut the mustard. They're not going to be good enough. Okay. First and foremost, you're stating things that technically aren't unique. Okay, so in order to answer this question properly at a much more sophisticated level, we have to go beyond these standard canned answers that I see a lot of people recommending. Okay, they are not unique and they're pretty unsophisticated. Besides, if you are at a higher level, you're going for a mid-manager type role or something, saying you're organized doesn't really cut it. Doesn't really succeed in convincing them that you are in fact organized. Okay, they're going to need some backup. The requirements get harder, okay, as you go for more sophisticated jobs. Okay, saying that you're a good communicator, that's not going to cut it either. You have to have a lot of backup. First and foremost, you have to be demonstrating it when you answer the question. Okay, so there are several reasons why these answers will not work if you're going for a more sophisticated job. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you my answer for this question if it was asked for a more sophisticated role. Okay. But then we're going to get into why. Okay. What's going on here? When once you know the principles, it'll be easier to determine what to say. Okay. Because after all, you're going to be tailoring this answer to your own personal experience and your history. Okay. There's really no such thing as a canned answer to tell me what's unique about yourself by definition, right? Okay. So here's how it works. Okay. If somebody asks you what's unique about you, okay, tell me something unique about yourself. Well, what's unique about you? Your life is unique. Your personal experiences are unique. If you look at your resume, okay, your professional history, as it were, everybody's resume is going to be different. There's going to be different jobs on there. There's going to be different experiences, different skills, okay? and you go beyond the resume and you think like, okay, two people might have had the same type of job. Maybe they worked in a grocery store, okay? But two people are going to have different takeaways from that same experience. Maybe one person really enjoys it. Maybe the other person really hates it, okay? Or maybe they both hate it, but for different reasons. One person realizes that they don't like working with people. Another person realizes that they don't like working with customers, something like that. Okay. So my point is that everybody's professional work experience is going to be unique. Okay. So when somebody asks you what's unique about yourself, start thinking of this. Okay. Now, what is really unique is not any particular job you've had, but it's the particular combination of jobs you've had or training you've had that's on your resume. Okay. So if you were to say, for example, let's say you're going up for a job as a manager of a shipping department. Okay. And somebody says, tell me something unique about yourself. And you could say, well, okay, I have 5 years experience working in a warehouse, but I also have a certificate in accounting. Okay. So I've got accounting experience and I've got warehouse experience. Now, this uniquely positions me to understand the inventory management processes. And because I'm trained in accounting, I know where we're losing money and I know where the money is really going. Okay. So if you're looking for somebody to cut costs, okay, when managing inventory, to be able to keep the same performance, but really be able to shave off some of the losses, the frictional costs and the losses that we're making, I'm your person, okay? Because I have experiences in warehouse, I have training in accounting, and I bring those two together to give me a unique competitive edge. And that's why I'm the person that you should select. Okay? So that's going to be the formula for how we answer this question. Okay, we think about, like everybody listening to this, everybody considering this question, you have to think about your unique combination of skills and experiences. Okay, something that you don't see every day. Okay, a lot of people might have worked in warehouses. That's not particularly unique. And a lot of people might have knowledge of accounting. That's not particularly unique. But you have both of those. And if you're going for a job that can use both of those things, that makes you probably a unique candidate. Okay, so you understand the concept. Now, I just want to note that for this particular example, I guess I chose two rather common things, warehouses and accounting. Both of those are pretty common, but normally people will have a few things on their resume that are slightly less common. Okay. You've worked in sort of a niche industry or a particularly rare situation, something like that, something that you have. Okay. And it might not be a combination of just two things. It could even be a combination of three things and so on. Okay. But this is the beginning of how we're going to answer this question. Okay, a unique combination of skills and experiences from your past that both relate to the current position. Okay, so that's the challenge here. Now, the example that I picked, okay, warehouse experience and accounting. Well, most jobs, I think you could make a case that accounting helps. Knowledge of accounting helps. Even if you work as a cashier in a grocery store, a very low level job, knowledge of accounting really works, okay, because it really helps because you understand cost structures of things, what really costs money, and that helps you make better decisions. Is it worth taking the time to do a particular task? It may hold up the line of customers, but we may save on a cost. Well, because I understand accounting, I understand exactly how much we're losing and how much we're gaining. And so when it comes to decisions like that, I can make the decision, from the financial point of view that saves the company money or makes the company more money. You could say that about almost any job, like something like accounting could apply almost anywhere. Even something like warehousing, if you're going up for a job that isn't in a warehouse, you can make the case that like, look, because I have 5 years experience in a warehouse, I can bring that knowledge to this job, and that will give me a unique insight into this element of this job. And that's why you need to hire me, because I'm probably the only person that can do that for you. I have this and that. Okay? So that's kind of the answer I would give. Okay? Look for a unique combination of your skills and experiences, and try and tie those to the current position. Now, that sounds like a complicated thing to do. Okay? But let's go beyond this. Okay? Everyone should know their own strengths. It is within your best interest to understand your unique abilities. This is actually a good question to be asked, because if you can answer this question, you are really selling yourself. Okay? A lot of job interview questions are opportunities to sell yourself, to really give them compelling reasons why they should pick you. Okay? There's a couple of different types of job interview questions. Some, they're just looking for red flags. So the goal there is just to not give them a red flag. But other ones, it's an opportunity like this one. Like the king of these type of questions would be saying, why should we hire you? That's a great question to be asked. Because if you have a good understanding of what your strengths are, you can just rattle them off, and they'll be able to, and if you've sort of done your homework, they'll tie right into the things that they're looking for. And that makes for a very good job interview. Okay, so everyone should know their own strengths. Strengths are not sort of doing something better than anyone else. They're from unique experiences, things that you've seen or things that you realized or things that you've demonstrated. Okay, so everybody that's listening to this, I'd recommend you think about your past, your professional history, what's on your resume, okay? And think about the things that, you do well, or that, you've shown to do well in the past, and then break it down into the elements, why you did it well. For example, let's say you had that job as a cashier in a grocery store, and let's say you enjoyed it and you were good at it. Well, why were you good at it? Was it the fact that, you're really good with people? Was it the fact that you really enjoyed that fast-paced environment? You thrived in it, whereas other people hated it. You enjoyed it. Was it because it involved multiple things at once? You're doing the cash register, you're also bagging the groceries, you're also dealing with payments and price checks and all this kind of stuff, and you loved that multitasking element? Okay, so think about stuff that you did well. Okay, get to know yourself. So if anybody asks you questions like this, you'll be able to just, deliver on this question. You'll be able to give a very, very high quality answer. Okay. Now, even young people and people going for entry level jobs, people going for the first jobs in their career. Okay. Knowing what you're good at, that's very important. Okay. Let's say you stacked boxes or something for like a summer job, and that's like the sum total of your work experience. Well, if you enjoyed it and you did a good job, what was the element that allowed you to enjoy it, that made you enjoy it, and what allowed you to do a good job? Is it the fact that it was a sort of simple mechanical task? Was it the fact that you were trusted? Your boss gave you your instructions and then they left and they let you work autonomously? Did you enjoy that? Was that the element that you enjoyed about that job and allowed you to excel? Think about this stuff, okay? Figure out what your strengths are. This is very important, because this is going to sound melodramatic, but it will shape your entire career and even your life. Knowing what you're good at, knowing what things you enjoy, what situations you will enjoy and which ones you won't. Okay? Very important. If you haven't already done this, do this. It's a necessary part of your sort of training to do job interviews. Okay? Then if you are asked this question, you just tailor the answer to the current job that you're up for. Okay? You already know their requirements and you already know what your strengths are. That's a perfect combination. You just tie one to the other and you're home free. Okay. And the beauty of it is that you only have to figure this out once. Then it becomes essentially your branding. Okay. And I hate that word branding. It's very trendy. In fact, I think it's more of a fad. But it is a thing. Okay. Branding is a thing. And it's the thing that you're known for. Okay. So everybody in their career, usually the vast majority of people, they're known for doing a certain thing and being good at it. Okay, so what's yours? Now, if you're early in your career, maybe you don't quite know yet, and that's fine, but you at least hopefully understand yourself and you understand, what your strengths are. Okay, so that's how we answer this question. Okay, so if someone asks you in a job interview, tell me something unique about yourself. And if you're above the sort of entry-level job where any coherent answer would be a pass, if you're into a more sophisticated type job, you've got responsibilities and so on, and you have to literally say something that actually sounds unique, and it has to be true. Well, this is the way to answer the question. Think of what's on your resume. Think of your work experience and your training that you have so far. And think of the unique combination of things that you have. Because I guarantee you, nobody else is going to have exactly the same thing on their resume as you have. Okay, so that's what's unique. All you have to do now is tie it to the things you already know that they're looking for. Okay? So that's, in my opinion, how you would answer this question. And if I was the hiring manager and I asked this question, that's the type of answer I would want to hear coming back to me. I'd want to hear a unique combination of things. Or an unusual or non-standard combination of things that would satisfy the unique part. And if you were telling me something that was speaking to the requirements of the job, then I'm getting valuable information from your answer. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you or hear you next time on the Ultimate Job Search and Career Podcast. Take care.